Hello everybody and welcome to the Education Computer channel. In this video I will explain what is the meaning of variables in programming language. In our code here in C++ code we have this simple statement cout 7 plus 8 in double quote as a text and the calculation of 7 plus 8. What is the result of this program? As you see here, if we run this, you will see the following console results. 7 plus 8, this is what is in double quotation, equal the 15, the calculation that you have in your code. As you see here, this is 7 plus 8, and this is the calculation for 15. Okay. So we have some fixed numbers. We just write these numbers during our code. Suppose that we want to change these numbers, so we have to enter the code and change this to like 9, 11, and also here I will change 9, 11, and then run this program. Suppose that we want to read any number that we want. This way is not a good way for a programmer or a programming language. So what we have to do, we have to declare or define variables. These variables may contain any number during the running time. So how could we define or declare variables? So suppose I want to declare two integer variables. I will set integer like number 1, number 2, and semicolon. And then I will say said okay, cout enter the first number like this, and then cn number 1, one that we just declared before as integer. The same thing for number 2. We will also read number 1 and number 2, so copy paste and then write here second number, and here I will make it 2. Then I will set okay, set n okay, number 1 plus number 2 equal, I'll dismiss this, sorry, equal here, I'll dismiss this and put number 1 plus number 2. So we declare two variables, and then we read these two variables, and then we make the cout and the calculation. Let us run this. So here I can make any input for this, like 8, 9. So the 8 plus 9 will be 17. So anytime I want to just run this, I can put any two integers, 5, 9, 9. It will be look like this. So this is the first benefit here. I can make some flexibility for input anything I want during the running of my program. So what are variables? Number 1 and number 2. And where and how could we use these variables? Variables are used to store information, to be referenced and manipulated in a computer program. It also provides a way of labeling data with a descriptive name. When I said number 1, it is somehow meaningful that I want to make something for numbering, number 1, number 2, number 3. if I just make some value for salary, it is preferred to just name it as salary, and so on. So you have to name your variables meaningful names. As you see here, you can use of alphabet and numbers, capital letters, small letters. C++ is a case-sensitive programming language. So number one is with capital N is different rather than number one with a small letter n. So this is a variable and this is another variable. It is case sensitive. You can define a variable like n1, or if you want n underscore 1, but you cannot use spaces like n space 2. This is wrong way. And also you could not use some special characters like n exclamation mark or the question mark. That is false. So you can name your variables by alphabet and numbers and the underscore character. That's okay. And to use variables with meaningful names. So why we name them variables? Variables mean something changed. Variables means when I said integer number 1, this is a name that point to some location on the memory of our computer. Like there is a reserved area in like a block in the memory that contains the value of number 1 and also for number 2. Each variable that I have, it will point to some value inside our computer memory. So during the running time, this reserved area on the memory can be changed. When I said cn number 1, so I read number 1 during the running time. So I give some value to that block or that area in the memory. So during the running time, we can change the value of number 1 and number 2 and the variable. So this is why we name them as variables. So variables can be declared with some data types. As we see here, we have int. Int means integer. I give number 1 a declaration of integer value. So it can contain just integer numbers. So number 1 and number 2 are integer variables. So what other data types that I can use in my program? You can use float also. Float. This is a decimal for decimal numbers. And also double. Also higher precision decimal numbers. Also you can use short or long for also integer but with long numbers or short numbers. Also you can use char for characters. You can use bool for boolean, true, false variables, and so on. So these are examples of data types that you can define or declare your variables with. Okay, so here when I just declare number 1 as integer, so when I just enter some value, it must be integer. If you just enter another value like characters or non-integer values like decimal values, it will just take it with another value. Let me show you. If I said I want to read the first as 1.5 and then click enter, as you see the second one is not entered. Why? Because we enter here two numbers, not one number, as integer number. There are no decimal. So the first one is finished when I put the decimal. So the first number will be what? 1, as you see here. And 0.5 is the other number. So it calculated in integer. 0.5 is calculated as 0. And so the calculation for the 1 plus 0 is equal to 1. So here why this calculation is measured as this? Because we define the number 1 and number 2 as integers. Let us define them as a float and see the same thing here. Let us say, okay, number 1, I want 1.5, and as you see here, we have 1.5 and 2.5, and this is the results. This is a good result. This is an okay 1.5 because a decimal or a float number we use in the declaration of our variables. So this is okay in our calculation. So you have to take care of what's your data type of your variables when we use them in our calculations. So another thing that you have to take in consideration, uh, when you let us make it integer another time, and you said, okay, I want to just set number one is equal to number 2 divided by 2, like this. So number 2 divided by 2, this is what? This is an integer divided by integer, so the result will be integer. So if I just run this and said, okay, I want to read the first number, okay, the second number, I want to make it 9, then what is the first number now? As you have here, we read the number 1 as what? As 7 first. But after that, we change, we assign a value, a new value for number. So the reserved location or block in the memory, it will be changed to the new value. What is the new value? Number 2 over 2 or divided by 2. Number 2 is read here, how much? 9. So 9 over 2 will be how much? 4.5. But because they are integers, 4.5, the debugger will dismiss the 0.5. So the calculation will be 4 for number 1. Plus 9, it will be 13. So you have to take care of what's the declaration that you have, what's the definition data type that you define your variables with. I hope you enjoyed this video and see you in the next video. Bye bye.